My Hero Academia Chapter 260, Life's Work. So this was an interesting chapter, and I'm really glad that we got a whole bunch of new info on how the quirk manipulation works, and as well as like the development of the Nomus and all that stuff coming from Ujiko. And we'll just call him Ujiko for now because we're not allowed to call him his real name, which is Shigaraki, because that apparently offended some people. Because Maruda could mean log in Japanese, and log was like a slur used back by the Imperial Japanese during World War II. Like when they were conducting experiments on people, they would call them logs. And this offended a vocal minority, I suppose, but it really offended like a lot of Chinese people, because we know like the Japanese were really harsh to the Chinese people during World War II, and I still think they have beef over that stuff to this day. And I think it caused My Hero to get banned in China because of this, which caused Horikoshi and Shueisha to come out with a public apology over this. And I think that's mainly why they did it, because they didn't want to really lose the entire Chinese demographic that they have. I don't really think they cared about the Western people crying on Twitter or whatever, but Horikoshi claims that he wasn't making a nod to this Imperial Japanese experimentation stuff. He simply says that Maruda was based on his appearance, because it could also mean round and fat, which obviously Ujiko is. And I believe Horikoshi, but even at the same time, if he was making a nod to that, to the Imperial experimentation stuff, it's like, it's fiction, and plus it fits in with his character. I mean, I don't know. I'm a stupid American. I can't see through the lens of other people, so it's whatever. All right, so in this review, I kind of want to jump around. I'm not going to go in order like I typically do. I'm kind of scatterbrained right now, so just bear with me. So on the first page, we see that it says 2 operation sites are approximately 80 kilometers apart, and we see like Hawks and Endeavor, and they're both at the hospital and at the Paranormal Liberation Front mansion. Now, 80 kilometers is about 50 miles, so they're really far apart at this point, and I think this is Horikoshi telling us what's probably going to be happening with this arc, and we're going to see 2 huge battles going on, and we're probably going to switch back and forth from them. So at the hospital, we're going to see Endeavor, Mirko, and the rest of the heroes that are there take on the high-end Nomus, because we see them, obviously they're in like the morgue part of this hospital, basically like Ujiko's huge lab, as well as Shigaraki. So I assume that he has no choice but to let these high-end Nomus go early. And we know that they can be sprung to life because we saw Hood. Hood was originally, you know, encapsulated with the rest of these before he was let go, when we saw him at the beginning of My Villain Academia, and he seemed to be all right. I mean, I guess he wasn't up to snuff of what Ujiko considers them to be at 100%, but even if he was like at 80% or even 70, he was still strong enough to push Endeavor to almost death, and he was one of the strongest things we ever seen in the series, just one of him. And speaking of the high-end Nomus, he has more than what I originally thought. Because when we first got the glimpse of these things, we only saw the first row of them. We saw like, I don't know, there was going to be like 10 or 12 of them. But then, now that we're seeing this new perspective of them, like when Ujiko's saying like, this lab is my story, it's my life's work, all the time I've spent with All For One, we see that there's another row of them behind them. So there's even more of them. There might be like 20 or something, I don't know, just one of these we saw with just Hood was that powerful. So we're going to have all of these guys, which I assume are comparable to Hood's strength. And I guarantee that some of them are stronger than him, because some of these look like they're like straight up like boss level monsters, like way more intimidating and just aesthetically more powerful looking than what Hood was. So that's the one half of the battle, and then the other half that we're going to see happen at the mansion, which I'm pretty sure is going to happen because Ujiko's Twice clone was destroyed, and Twice is going to be alerted of that. So he's going to know stuff is going down. He's at the mansion, and he's going to be like, okay, everybody, you know, the crap has hit the fan, so we're going to get the jump on these guys. So maybe the Paranormal Liberation Front gets the jump on the raid team against the mansion, because that's going to be the other battle that I'm talking about. It's going to be basically the Paranormal Liberation Front minus Shigaraki, taking on like Edge Shot, Gang Orca, Fat Gum, Amajiki, Kamui Woods is there. You know, like a bunch of powerful heroes, but I really don't think that this is like a strong enough team to take on what the Paranormal Liberation Front has. It's just the lieutenants alone, and then their recruits that they have. and then whatever underlings that they have under that. I mean, it's going to be somewhat competitive, but I just think the heroes are at a disadvantage here. I mean, we thought that coming into this arc, but it's made more apparent now than ever, really. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, coming to Ujiko, so apparently he does have a quirk, which makes sense, you know, considering that he can embed quirks in other people, and we could just assume that, you know, probably All For One gave this to him, and it's apparently the longevity quirk that All For One also has. So judging from how fast Ujiko ages here, we can assume that he's probably close to All For One in age, maybe like a little younger than him. Maybe he's like 90 or something, somewhere around there, and it's implied that like All For One is over 100. So I assume that All For One probably found Ujiko like a while ago, like maybe during his first run to power, somewhere around there. It's really unclear at this point, but I'm sure it'll be made more apparent later on once we get more information on Ujiko and exactly what's going on with him. But I mean, it makes sense that he would give him this longevity quirk so they can just work indefinitely on, you know, making all of these Nomus, working on the quirk manipulation. So let's go into that. So it's confirmed here, which, you know, we knew pretty much from seeing the Nomus, that he can replicate quirks, or they say, or shares quirks through his biomedical technology. And we actually see like all of the quirks that he has, like in these test tube jar things in his laboratory. So that's pretty cool that we're just seeing these things. And then he says like it takes like a really long time just to copy and preserve even one quirk. So in these jars are just a whole bunch of quirks, and I'm curious if anything is going to happen with this. I mean, maybe not, because Mirko just like destroyed like a whole bunch of them, so we're not going to see a whole bunch of these quirks being used. Another interesting thing that I want to touch on is Ujiko talking to Eraserhead when he says like, oh, well, it's made apparent that when you use your quirk on a duplicate made by Twice, it won't disperse, which we knew because we saw when he went against Dabi back in the training camp arc. He didn't disperse either, so he was just able to shut off his inherent quirk. So I think this is obviously going to come back into play since he's talking about this here. Maybe it'll go into Twice replicating the Nomus, which we saw kind of set up 2 chapters back, or just Twice replicating people in general. I mean, that's obviously going to happen in this arc, but I think it's going to play a bigger part than what we initially thought. And also, we speculated that Ujiko was a Twice clone in the previous review, and it turns out that that was true, which is pretty cool. But I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point because Mirko busts through the wall, and she really impressed me this chapter. Like the way that she was able to take care of those Nomus like really easily. Like there was not just chump white Nomus in there was some black Nomus in there too, and they're, you know, more powerful than the whites for sure. But like she, I guess, essentially one-shotted these things with the quickness, and also obviously powerful enough to easily bust through that wall, which looks to be reinforced with like steel and stuff. So yeah, she's super powerful. I mean, she is number 5 after all, but I mean, I guess it shows that these heroes are probably stronger than what we were giving them credit for, at least than I was. I mean, I still don't think she's capable of taking down like a high-end Nomu by herself, but certainly helping out with the other heroes is going to prove to be effective here. And then as Ujiko asks the Johnny Nomu to teleport him and Shigaraki away, the wall that she busts through lands on the Johnny Nomu and destroys him, so he's out of the picture, and Ujiko's not going to be able to transport here. So that's interesting too. So considering that he wants to transport him and Shigaraki, so does that mean that Shigaraki is pretty much embedded with the quirks that he was going to have? Maybe like maybe he just didn't need to bring the rest of the quirks that he had, or I don't know. It looks like he's holding something, like when he's running, you can't really see it. So maybe he's holding the quirks that he was going to embed in him, maybe. Not sure. But also, as for Shigaraki, I mean, obviously he's not going to be able to transport out of here. They're stuck here. So I am assuming that like Shigaraki's going to have to be released sooner or later. So when is he going to be released? Maybe not immediately. Like I said, I think Ujiko is going to unlock the high-end Nomus first, and then we're going to see them take on the heroes, and then maybe he's just going to wait to unlock Shigaraki, or maybe he's going to try to transport him in an alternate method. I just don't see him waking up yet. I think he's going to be like, used for much later on in this arc, you know, as kind of like the trump card in the end, because obviously he's going to be ridiculously powerful. I mean, still he's going to be underbaked at this point because it's going to take, you know, like almost another month for him to be complete. So he's going to be similar to the Nomus. He's going to come out like, I don't know, 80% or something like that. And depending on what quirks Ujiko put in him, he's going to be probably the strongest character in the series. I'm just assuming. I mean, just his Awakened Decay quirk is already one of the best quirks we've ever seen, but he's probably going to have enhanced strength, enhanced durability, I'm sure regeneration, maybe shock absorption, and then whatever other crazy things, because he has so many quirks on this shelf. It really could be anything at this point, but that's also goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the review. We're just going to see the 2 battles here, and that's where I see this arc headed. And then, of course, we have the evacuation team with, like, Bakugo, Izuku, and them. They're going to be somewhere in this, but they're not going to be, like, a part of the huge battles, at least not immediately. But that's pretty much it for the review today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this chapter. Where do you think things are headed? Do you think the high-end Nomus are going to get unlocked? Let me know. And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.